We are joined by Dr. Brahmachalani, who's a strategic affairs expert. We have Dr. Tara Karta, who is former director, National Security Council Secretariat. We have Mahesh Sachdev, former Indian ambassador. We have Adil Brar, who's a China expert, international affairs. He's based in Taiwan. Thank you all of you for joining me on this broadcast. Mr. Chalane, to you first. Professor Chalane, what are the possible outcomes and ramifications of this summit? How do you expect it to change the discourse? Do you even expect it to change the discourse?
Well, you ask a difficult question because the SCO has an annual summit. Last year, they had an annual summit in Astana, Kazakhstan, which Prime Minister Modi skipped. And year before last, India was the rotating head of the SCO, and Modi chose to downgrade the SCO summit to a virtual format. It was held online rather than in person. This year, Modi had chosen to go to the Tianjin SCO summit. In fact, he has chosen to go there because he's signaling an effort to rebuild relations with China. In that context, the SCO summit attendance of Modi is important. As to what might come out of that SCO summit, it's important to see first that in addition to the 10 member states of the SCO, China as the host country has invited a number of other leaders, from the president of Turkey to the president of Indonesia. A number of foreign leaders are also attending the SCO summit, because the SCO summit is actually a stepping stone to a bigger event that Beijing is organizing on Wednesday, which is the real event. It's a September 3rd military parade, a massive show of Chinese military might. And the guest list for that military parade is a who's who of the world's strongmen. All the world's leading autocrats are going to be present at the Wednesday military parade. And in fact, the SCO plus that, because the SCO minus India is again a club of autocracies. So SCO plus the military parade on Wednesday clearly raised the question whether autocracies are coming together. This goes back to Joe Biden's narrative as president that this is a struggle between democracies versus autocracies. But the next few days, starting from tomorrow when the SCO summit begins, that kind of narrative, that kind of theme or vision will be talked about again.
Right, I'll take off from there. We also have David K. Johnson, who's a senior author and journalist. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for also joining us. How does the West look at the SCO summit? Is there a sense that there are countries which are coming together to put up a resistance front against this tariff-led turbulence that the world is witnessing?
Well, exactly. The real nightmare scenario from a U.S. perspective is that other countries in the world say, fine, we're going to create new trading zones and we're going to exclude you from these zones. And that's not surprising, given that Donald Trump, he has no strategy, he has no idea what he's doing. Why would he have higher tariffs on India, the seventh largest U.S. trading partner, than Pakistan, which is 1/50th roughly the size of trading with the U.S. And it's because Donald doesn't know anything. It's all a con artist bluff. So to see Modi and Xi meet, even briefly, to talk about better relations, particularly in the context of economics and trade, should be very alarming in the U.S. And by the way, the one good news perhaps in this is that an intermediary appeals court in the U.S. has just held that, as I've said on your network before, the tariffs are illegal. Donald Trump has no authority to impose these tariffs. Only Congress can do so. But it shouldn't surprise anyone in the world that we are seeing this kind of discussion between China and India.
Right. Tara Karta, how realistic is India's expectation of a strong criticism of cross-border terrorism coming out in this Tianjin declaration, and also this whole consensus between China and Pakistan that we witnessed during Operation Sindoor? How is it going to really play out now?
No, I think, Vasudha, things are changing very fast. It's almost, I'll say, changing by the hour. That whole swing through by, the Chinese foreign minister through Afghanistan and Pakistan That was not at all encouraging of any such tendencies. There were very strong statements that Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India should have a peaceful regional climate. Now, he says something, it's not that we are going to go flat on that, but then nonetheless, that messaging was clear. The Chinese want stability in this region. They want CPEC also, that's a different issue. CPEC extended to Afghanistan, but they have never ever countenanced the rise in terrorism in this area. It's not something that they can handle. In fact, the biggest problem with Pakistan is precisely that their guys are getting targeted, Chinese are getting targeted, you're not doing enough. So that was one messaging that Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, the whole region should stabilize, which was very interesting.
Right.
In terms of the whole messaging here, if you look at the official texts, what they're saying is we welcome India. It's not just India's invited. Modi is welcomed in Beijing. That's what the official is saying. If you look at the Chinese chatter, what they're talking of is that the US, of course, has spurned India and India has come back to Asia. All this, so, matters are changing very quickly. This is also, as you know, there are some very new aspects which we can discuss later in this SCO summit. There are some interesting points which China is bringing in. None of this means that the border issue has changed, because he's come from Japan with a fantastic, readout. The Japanese Indian readout stressed democracy, is stressed a very interesting statement on security between the two. That was, I've never seen that before.
Okay, let me take this question to Ambassador Sachdev. Ambassador Sachdev, in your article, you summed up the reason why this SCO is being so keenly watched. Help us understand, sir, what are your expectations from this summit, and does it really, have the ability to change the way we are looking at the geopolitical discourse now?
Thank you. Glad to be here, and I have heard very carefully what your erudite panelists have already said, and I would not like to repeat that. But and thank you again for my article, which was published on NDTV.com website only today afternoon. I have two or three seminal points. Firstly, the credit for success, historic success of this event at Tianjin goes to only one person, which is Donald Trump. And many of the panelists have already mentioned that. He has shanghaied everyone into Tianjin for Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Second point I have is slightly at variance. I believe that United States and China have unanimity about having a G2 kind of relationship, great two countries, and they look with jaundiced eye towards countries like India,
right,
that want to join the high table. Let's make it. Let's have no illusions about it. Chinese want good relations with you, but they don't want a competitor.
Okay.
They believe that they have arrived, and their growth rate is tapering off. India's growth rate is picking up, and they would like us to be a second B team or second grade power, and not somebody they need to countenance as an equal.
Right.
Our approach is different. United States has changed its policies. Earlier, the US played one against another. Germany was played before Second World War against Soviet Union. So China, after Shanghai Agreement of 71, became a device to break up Soviet Union, and they saw that all those billions of dollars that were invested in China technology transfers, market access, etc., created a Frankenstein monster.
Okay.
Which
That's an interesting
came back
point,
to
Ambassador
haunt them.
Sachdev. Let
They
me.
don't want that to happen
Right.
with India.
Right.
That's all.
Adil Brar, you heard the panelists out, and thank you so much for waiting. I wanted to ask you: do we know enough about China to know, where do we need to draw the line? Where does India need to draw the line? And when it comes to Trump's new tariff policy, does that make China a tougher, or in fact a more necessary partner for India's economy? Although we do have a trade deficit with China that's much more than with at least United States of America, we have a surplus. That's not the case with China. Mr. Adil Brar?
China is, essentially what I want to say is, and I will echo what Dr. Tara Karta just mentioned, that there is a evolving situation here, that things are moving very fast. So this is what has brought India and China together at the moment. But we'll have to wait and watch how these two sides can actually move this momentum forward. We've had there's a summit in October 2024 where Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping met in Russia. That's what really brought about this disengagement at the border. But it will take some time before we can come to a conclusion that both sides are moving towards a more normal relationship in terms of their bilateral relationship. And it's mostly the tensions with the US that actually brought these sides together. They have their own bilateral reasons to have more normal relations, but we cannot discount the fact that the tariffs that Trump administration has imposed on India have pushed India and China closer. And China is very much confident with the fact that they want to have better relations with India, because that helps them send the message to the rest of the world that China can have partners like India. They don't need the West, they don't need the US. So this is the kind of messaging that we will see during the SCO Summit, as well as in the following days when we'll have the military parade, which is again like one of the significant events that China is organizing to send the message that China played a significant role in the Second World War. And we don't need to forget China's role in international politics. So this is the kind of messaging that China wants to send to the world. And within this ambit, China is trying to get close to India, but it will be some time before we can really see how these two countries will move forward, or will they come to blows once again.
The subtext of this meeting is going to be very important. Thank you all of you for joining me on this